Hello, everybody. Happy New Year's. If you know, you know. I'm not even going to acknowledge it. It is what it is. I'm done. Okay. Happy New Year. I have recorded my New Year's video 7 times. Good 7 times. And you want to know what happened to those 7 videos? They were gone. Because A, my Wi Fi was horrendous. I had to get new Wi Fi. And then I didn't have Wi Fi for 11 days. So Happy New Year to me. And let me tell you something. This year has already gone off with a bang. What have we done already in 11 days? Let's count it. So we've started a war in Venezuela. Done. We stole their oil. Done. We didn't release the Epstein files. That's still a freaking mess. Inflation is still up. Tariffs are still up. What else? Trump's still president. Oh, he wants to buy Greenland. We'll talk about that later. He also might start a war with China. We'll talk about that later. What else? All for a Nobel Peace Prize. All for a Nobel. Oh, Cuba. He wants Marco Rubio to run Cuba. We all know. Something's happening in Gaza. I mean, what's his face? Jared Kushner. He's going to make it into SpaceX. It's a freaking disaster. Here in the United States, AI has taken over all of our jobs. We have no jobs. What else? We have high inflation, tariffs. We pay for tariffs, by the way. The biggest con in the world is Donald J. Trump. I don't even know where to begin with this video because so much has happened with Venezuela, with Somali and the daycare lies, which I'm going to talk about later. I mean, the Epstein files is a disaster. Gaza, what's going on there? Congo, Sudan. The world is going to shit. I'm just going to say it. The world is going to shit and there's nothing we can do. Okay, that was a bit dramatic. Okay, I don't even know. Like, I'm really taking a minute to sit and just digest everything because let's talk about Venezuela. Let's talk about this disaster of a Venezuela, whatever the heck Trump is doing. So basically, a week ago, okay, to summarize, Trump went and invaded Venezuela, snatched up the president, the sitting president and his wife, snatched them, brought them back to the United States to face trial, all for oil. All for oil. Now, let's even back up even further. Nicolas Maduro was the current sitting illegitimate, in my opinion, prime minister or president of Venezuela. I say illegitimate because he wasn't voted in. There was no democracy there. There was no vote. He was not voted in. And, you know, he just took over power. He just took it over. And there's a whole story. There's a whole thing behind that. And I'm not going to get into it right now, but I highly suggest you look up Nicolas Maduro, Venezuela, and him seizing power and all of that. And so, because Trump is Trump, and keep in mind, with Trump, there's always an ulterior motive. There's always a gotcha. There's always a payment involved. It has to be transactional. And he's screwed here in the United States of America. He is screwed with this Epstein stuff. And it's not being talked about currently because there's a lot of distractions going on. Donald J. Trump is neck deep in these Epstein files. Neck deep. Y'all read into that what you want. Not only is he neck deep, but a lot of people are. A lot of people, world leaders, businessmen, judges, people of authority. Let me back up, not people. Men mostly, because Ghislaine Maxwell, we'll talk about men of authority, men of power, men of great wealth, terrorized, assaulted children. And this is who the United States of America, the Justice Department, the FBI, Kash Patel, and co. Everybody. Pam Bondi, Caroline Levitt, you name it, they are covering up this sex trafficking ring. They're covering it up through many different ways. And I need you to pay attention. Distractions. The many different ways are through distractions, through starting wars, Venezuela and co., threatening to take over countries like Venezuela with Greenland, ICE agents here in the United States of America terrorizing the joint, them calling the affordability crisis a hoax. Yeah, I'm getting my little notes, by the way, because it's so bad. It's so bad. There's so many distractions. Calling The Epstein files, a Democratic hoax. What else? There's just so many distractions, all because they don't want us to see the Epstein files. I think I've talked about this in many different ones on my podcast, that the Epstein files is bad. It's really, really bad. The worst thing you're thinking of right now, times that by 10. There's no way one would go through all of this because of files, right? If you were innocent, if you weren't a part of it. So, as I always say, do your own research, take that as you want, take that with a pinch of salt, go do your research and find out answers for yourself, but keep talking about it. Keep talking about this Epstein thing, because I'm telling you, the shoe has not dropped yet. We've had a lot of drops. Don't get me wrong. We've had a lot of horrific things come out from the media, from the files, from the Epstein estate, from the survivors themselves, which is horrific that they even have to talk about their own trauma. And the DOJ is acting as the president's lawyer. So you read into that what you will. And I'm going to tell you to start with Katie Johnson's case. And I want you to read into why it was, taken away, why it was done. I want you to read into why New York changed the law after it happened. I want you to read into that. And then let me know. Let me know what you think. Because I have thoughts. And, we all have to be cautious, right? Publicly of what we say. Because we don't have the actual files. Because they're keeping the files away from us. Because they don't want us to know the truth. But we're smart. All of us are smart. They think we're dumb as hell. They're playing in our faces. They think we're stupid. They think we're going to let it go. They think we're not going to read the fine print. They think we're not going to go through every single file. They are mistaken. You are screwed. The DOJ, screw it. The Trump administration, screwed. You're going to jail. And so let's talk about one of the first distractions this year, Venezuela. So what happened with Venezuela? So a week ago, this all happened within a week. It's crazy. A week ago, President Trump invaded Venezuela, snatched up the president and his wife, brought them back to the United States to face trial, right? Because Donald J. Trump's whole thing is, I'm the leader of peace. He wants a Nobel Peace Prize so freaking bad. But he is doing the opposite of peace. And so his whole thing is, I'm going in there because Maduro is an illegitimate president, and I'm going to save the people of Venezuela. Let's talk about the illegitimate president part. Nicolas Maduro is a dictator. He took over Venezuela. There was no vote for him to become president. It is a mess. It is horrific, and I don't stand for that. You need a vote. I believe in democracy, period. So Nicolas Maduro was an illegitimate president. Yes, his whole cabinet, and this is important for you to know, his whole cabinet is illegitimate. Not just Nicolas Maduro, his whole cabinet that no one was voted in. So Trump, to get an easy win in his head, was like, I'm going to go snatch up that president. So he went ahead and snatched up the president, and his wife brought him over here. Everyone in Venezuela were like, oh my gosh, yes, the president is gone. Not everybody, but quite a few people were like that, which I can understand as a human on a personal level. You have a dictator like we have here in the United States of America coming in, and then we had another world leader snatch them up for us, so we think, to save our democracy. But you all know, I know, people who live in the United States of America during the Trump regime know that this isn't as easy as Trump is saying. No. There's always a transactional benefit with Trump. And it just so happened it was oil for Trump and his pack of goons, billionaires. And we have to say pack of goons are billionaires because name an ethical billionaire, except Mackenzie Scott, Jeff Bezos' ex-wife. She's handing out money like crazy. I got to give it to her, especially to HBCUs. So, and she knows. I could imagine her being married to Jeff Bezos. It'd be a mess. Anyways, let me continue. So Trump, let me back up because, he loves gifts, right? The Qatari jet, the FIFA Peace Prize, which was so cringy. Go look up Trump. Better yet, screw it. Let me pull it up. Let's see. Trump's speech. I'm just going to play like the first 2 seconds because FIFA, yeah, Peace Prize. And so this is all Cristiano, Ronaldo with his MAGA self. Okay. I want to show you this Peace Prize. This is how funny it is and how sad and tragic and just honestly pathetic Donald Trump is. He wants a Peace Prize so bad. Listen to his speech. Look at how this man, I've never seen someone snatch. Now, before I share this with you, I just want you to know something. I have never seen Trump move so fast for something in his life. And I know Trump. I know Trump very well. I think we all know Trump. We all watch him. We all see how he's been moving, limping. There's a lot going on with the elevators, escalators. There's a lot going on. Trump doesn't want, well, you know what? I need to stop being rude because he's been passing his cognitive test, right? He's been passing his cognitive test. He's getting all positives. He's got all the colors right, the shapes. Can't knock it, honestly. Can't knock it, really. Because he says no one can beat a cognitive test like him. And I believe him. I believe him. I believe at his old age that he's the best cognitive taker. I believe it. I believe it. And so it's proven here. His health, I mean, it's immaculate how he's moving right here. Let me show you. I've never seen this man move this fast. It's a miracle, Christmas miracle. Look at this. Look at this. You'll see this on Fox News too. I'm not giving Fox credit, whatever. But they're the ones that are playing it without commentary. Look at him move. Oh, here it. He got a pep to that step, walking over to his little award. Look at that. Look at that prize. That's a big, honestly, I'm not mad at him. This award, look. Look how happy it is. I've never seen him smile that much. Watch this. This is the cringiest shit I've seen. Whatever. Right. I know I just gave you a real quick, I just wanted you to see him snatch that little award, take the mic, and start a speech all serious. Listen, let me be serious because he took it really seriously. He was so serious about winning this award. So I want to give him credit because I also want to win. I want a Nobel Peace Prize too. So I kind of get the drive. So that's going to be my new thing. I want a Nobel Peace Prize. And so, anyways, I don't even know where it was. I'm not gonna lie. This Trump video kind of distracted me. But yeah, anyway, so he takes the oil. No. So he takes the prime minister or president of Venezuela and his wife, brings them to the United States. So now everyone's like, oh my gosh, he did it. He's helping us. He's helping us. He's helping the Venezuelan people. But here in the United States of America, we were like, no. He's up to something, and he was. And then not even a day later, President Trump says, we're going to take the oil. There it is. And so him and his pack of goons, and the pack of goons in this instance are the billionaire oil executives, because the issue is Trump is supposed to get congressional approval as of now, at least lately, to do any sort of acts of war, to release any of the military, to do any of that. And he didn't, because, Trump. And so he didn't get any approval from Congress. And, the Republicans don't really care. Well, actually, some of them do care. Let me not be rude. Thomas Massey gives a shit. Rand Paul, I think, gives a shit. A couple of them give a crap. Josh Hawley, weirdly, gives a crap. So a couple of them give a crap now, only because their people are starting to turn against them. It's all transactional. It's all transactional. Anyways, so Trump goes ahead and seizes oil tanks in Venezuela. He seizes oil tanks. They've taken over a part of Venezuela. He's literally stealing the money. And the only person or people that he got approval from were oil executives here in the United States. Shell, Chevron, Exxon, or Exxon, whatever. So, yeah. And so And then Trump does this whole podium speech. What is it called? In his little ballroom. The ballroom, don't get me started. So then Trump got a lot of backlash from all of us, but he doesn't give a crap anymore because it's power. But anyways, he tries to save a little bit of face and he announces his whole speech. So he's in this, what is it, a press conference. He announces a press conference with all of the oil executives. It's like a shitload of white men. It's just them and Trump. And within that meeting, Trump gets up randomly to point out that East Wing ballroom. He gets up and he's like, let's go look at the ballroom, shall we? Because, his dementia kicks in. The only thing he wants to look at is like pretty things. And that ballroom is ugly as hell. And can we also talk about that ballroom real quick? I want y'all to look up the East Wing ballroom that they're creating and then the inside of Jeffrey Epstein's estate, an island. It's a lot of gold. Then let me know in the comments what you think. So after that, so he gets up, looks at this ugly ass ballroom. He comes and sits down and he talks about the oil. And he says, listen, we're going to take all the oil. And then the oil executives are going into Venezuela to bring money to the economy. Whatever. No, 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 no. One of the big oil tycoons I'm going to pronounce his name wrong, Exxon, Exxon, that gas station. He goes, well, actually, it doesn't benefit us financially to start anything in Venezuela. So basically, he's robbing the country blind, taking all of the oil and resources from the country for his own gain. And he gets something out of it. Yeah, because allegedly they're saying that all of these tycoons gave him millions of dollars. So that's what's happening in Venezuela. And now we're all of a sudden taking it over. So with this Venezuela, and that was a real short recap. You guys need to really research it because it's truly insane. So now with this Venezuela thing, it has sparked a lot of things in Trump's little mind. And so when Trump gets a freaking idea, he really runs with it. That's one thing I'll tell him. He'll get an idea and he will run with it and he'll go to it until the end. And so through Venezuela, Trump then decides he wants Greenland. But he's been wanting Greenland for a while. He's been putting that even in his first term. But this time, we got to listen to him. Anything Trump wants, he's been getting. He wants Greenland. He's going to get it. Unless someone steps up. And people are starting to step up, world leaders, and it's embarrassing. So Denmark said F around and find out. Because listen, F around and find out. Pete Hegseth, our war guy, I can't, don't get me started with him. Maybe I should do a whole Cash Patel Pete Hegseth rant one day, but he has now used that phrase, fuck around and find out, for anything they do, for the Venezuelan ships, boats, excuse me. Do you remember those? I forgot to even mention that earlier. We have been targeting Venezuela for a while now because also Trump is threatening Venezuela and says that that the people of Venezuela smuggle, like the criminals of Venezuela. Because, Trump has this whole thing that fentanyl comes from Venezuela. Fentanyl doesn't come from Venezuela. I've talked about this before. So he's been bombing fishermen, all this stuff. And he's been sued by the families of who he killed. So that's why we know it's a lie. So anyways, so he's been terrorizing the joint. And so now he wants Greenland. Denmark came out and was like, F around to find out. Sorry, that's what I was saying. So Pete Hegseth, he's been using that phrase every time they do an act of war. Isn't that disgusting? Isn't that disgusting? Like, we say it tongue in cheek, but he really means it. And so Denmark then decided, was like, F around and find out. We're going to shoot first and think later if you come on Greenland, because Greenland is part Denmark, blah, blah. They have this whole thing. That's the whole thing. The UK, Prime Minister Macron from France, and I believe the Prime Minister of Germany, and maybe someone else, they all got on a call over the weekend to come up with a military plan in case the US invade Greenland. This is where we're at. I might be saying this all tongue-in-cheek, all lighthearted. I'm really trying to summarize a whole thing, a big conflict, as quick as I can. I'm missing really big parts. So that's why if I just say things randomly, it's because I'm thinking of it then. I'm missing a lot. I really highly encourage. I'm so sorry I have to be a political preacher, but it's time for us to literally open our eyes, to just read more, browse on political social pages, on social media, if that's how you consume it. Listen to a podcast if that's how you consume it. Listen to the news, even if it's mainstream. Like, really just articles, Substack, blogs. I hate to say this. I'm talking about around the world. I'm not just talking about United States of America. If I have people that are listening to this in a different country, y'all need to be up to date on what Trump is doing too. I'm not just saying listen to this. I'm saying if you're listening, take this information and research it yourself, because it's so important that you are in the know, because these people don't want you to be in the know. For so long, I wasn't in the know. For so long, I just voted the way I did because I thought it was the right thing. And then when you start to read and you start to unpack things, you're like, uh-oh, I voted for a genocide. Huh? So that's what I'm saying. We all haven't been reading. We need to read. That's it. We just need to start reading. We can start from now. Don't forget the past, because we have to learn. But you know what I mean? Forget the past. We're starting today. We're reading. We're doing this. So the prime ministers over in Europe are like, they're coming up with a plan. European prime ministers, NATO, etc. They're coming up with a plan in case Trump invades Greenland. Another thing, let me just quickly say, off this Venezuela thing, Cuba has been brought up because Marco Rubio has ties to Cuba. His family fled Cuba because of all that, blah, blah, blah. We're not going to get into it. But they have a vendetta. Marco has a personal vendetta, in my opinion. This is all in my opinion, research. But I believe Marco has a vendetta. I think Trump just loves a good dictatorship. He wants to control everything. He wants to control the world. Stephen Miller, who is someone that, if you do not know that name, I need you to understand. Keep that name in your head. Google that name. Stephen Miller is the worst of the worst. I think he's truly running the show. Stephen Miller doesn't even refer to things of like America, United States, or Europe, or this country. He now refers to, we need to control the Western Hemisphere. But I'm going to laugh about Stephen Miller because he's a minion. He looks like a minion. Let me check. Stephen Miller. This is who he is. This is Stephen Miller. Minion. You see what I'm saying? I think he's running the ship. You need to look up old videos. Hemisphere consists of America, North America, Europe, some of Europe. It's a mess. He wants to control it all. So of course Europe is going to be like, what? And that's what I'm saying. Europeans, if you're listening to this, Western Hemisphere, hun. Like, it's really serious. So we need your help. Like, Europe, is this a call for help? What can y'all help us with? Europe, Asia, like, Africa, can some of y'all help us for real? Like, what is going on? And when I mean help, it's like, can y'all talk some sense into him? Because we can't. Congress, like the GOP, the Republicans own everything, and they're not going against Trump. And when they do, it's a roadblock. The only thing that can truly help us, in my opinion, is 2026 November, this year, the midterms. And when I say that, I'm going to be covering this like crazy. If you're listening to this and you live in the US, let me know what state you're from, and if there's candidates in that state, or just in general, if you want me to look into your state, who's running, do a deep dive into that. If that's helpful, I will. Because I also want to know, not just in California here, I want to know around the United States. We're at that stage where we need to know what's going on in Ohio. We need to know what's going on in Kansas. We need to know what's going on in Alabama. I will do that. I'll even do that if no one requests it. I don't care. I'm going to do it anyways. So that's where we're at. I don't know what's going to happen. Start Monday. This is Sunday. It's football Sunday, so I'm not doing anything. Trump's in Mar-a-Lago. That's where he goes. A lot has happened in Mar-a-Lago. Since its founding, we're starting to realize, because of Epstein. So that's my Venezuela thing. I'm definitely missing something, because you have to remember it's been only 11. It's not even been 11 days. It's been a week. I'm tired. I'm tired already of Trump. I'm tired. I'll keep the pulse. I'll be keeping the pulse. We'll be talking about it all week. It will be just ingrained in updates. Like, we need to pay attention because everything is stemming from Venezuela. Does that make sense? Everything's coming off, bouncing from Venezuela. All his next moves. Pay attention. Everything he's saying is the truth. As insane as that sounds. Stephen Miller wanting to take over the Western Hemisphere. But he could do it if he wanted. The thing is, Will our allies, I still think of y'all as our allies, will they stop them or attempt? Yes. But then what is that going to be? That's going to be bloodshed. It's going to be bad. Stephen Miller's living his wet dream, though. Like, he's such a fucking racist. He loves this. This is exactly what he wanted from the beginning. They're so racist. Mandami. They wanted Mandami. They kept saying they even put martial law, Sharia law in New York. And in 8 days, he passed free childcare. Yeah, that's crazy. My aunt, everyone lives in New York for 50 years, for a long time, and she's not wearing a hijab. It's crazy to me. That's what they're doing. They're putting this fear, like everyone's going to be wearing a hijab. There's going to be all these people. That's crazy to me. It's that sort of extremism, religious extremism that I'm going to be debunking here on this podcast, because it's taking away from real religion and real scripture from all religions. Extremism is messing up religion. And this is coming from an atheist. I am not religious, but I respect it. I respect a religion a lot because I'm reading. I think I said I'm starting to read the Bible just to understand the Christian Bible, just to understand. And then I told my aunt, I'm moving on. I'm going to study Buddhism, Quran. I'm going to study it all because I think it's really important for me to understand other people's arguments, because I believe there's atheist extremism, and I'm not okay with that. I'm not okay with anything. And someone like me who doesn't personally follow the Bible, a lot of decisions in the United States is based off the Bible. It's based off religion. There's no such thing as church and state, and that's a problem. But in order for me to understand people's point of view, and also I think what helps is I have a lot of people around me that are Christian, Catholic, they have a faith, so it's easy for me to have these conversations. So it is actually easy for me to learn in a respectful way. But extremism, period, is an issue. And I love it when you have a faith, if whether you're Christian, Muslim, whatever, and you come out against extremism, because to me, I don't know, it means a lot. And I don't know how to explain what it means. And that's what I want this podcast to be. I'm going to go through my journey with this and religion and all of that. But it does mean a lot as a non-religious person to see religious people speak out against extremism, because it shows, because what I'm reading in the Bible is actually very peaceful. And I mentioned this on my end of year wrap, so definitely go listen to it. And I do a bit more of, I think, of a better explanation than I am now. But the reason why I turned to it is because of the ICE raids and what's happened with Renee Good. And it was before this, though. And the reason why the ICE raids did this for me, the reason why it was for me to pick up a Bible and read, is because I came across a part of a scripture on social media which talked about immigration and how we should, the Bible says this, how we should treat foreigners like they're our neighbors, and how we should love thy neighbor even if they are of an international foreign race, right? They're from a different country. When I read that, I was like, because you have to understand, as a non-religious person, I'm seeing what's going out there. And I'm like, this is extremist. This is crazy. But when I read that scripture, I had to ask my friend Jasmine. I was like, is this true? Like, is this really what it says in the Bible? She confirmed yes. And then that sparked me wanting to read more about that, because what is going on in the US and their Trump administration is using their Christian faith as a, what is it? Like an excuse, right? Like the Bible says we have to do this. The Bible doesn't say that, actually. The Bible actually says you should love thy neighbor, and we should help. That's why we have due process, right? That's why we have a process here for people who are illegal. Listen, we have an immigration problem. Absolutely. We have an immigration problem in the United States, and that's coming from someone that wasn't born here. I was born in the UK. My mom is American, though, so maybe there's a difference there, right? So I obviously am not someone that came across for a better life, blah, blah, blah. But so I'm saying I think there's an immigration problem around the world, period. And I think there's going to be an immigration problem. Americans leaving. Do you know what I mean? But I believe in due process. And I believe in giving people a chance. I know that sounds crazy. I believe in asylum seeking. I believe in sanctuary states. I believe that people can flee from wars and regimes and dictatorships. And if you don't believe that after living through Trump, then I think we got another question on our hands. I believe in that stuff. Now, and a lot of people, which I can understand why you're like, oh, that's too much, that's too much. Blah, blah, I get it. You're not used to that. I believe in it, but I believe in due process. And I believe there needs to be a legal way to enter the country. I believe that even by not having due process, people are risking their lives. to come over here, and that doesn't help anybody. So with this ICE stuff, of the thing that I have, they're snatching up people in courtrooms, going to their immigration appointments. That's not someone committing a crime. They haven't actually really arrested people committing crimes. They're arresting single moms. They're arresting pregnant moms. They're arresting kids. Hardworking people at their jobs. And then they're killing U.S. citizens like Renee Good. Killed. I don't care what anybody says. I watched the video. I watched all angles of that video of ICE in Minneapolis. And he killed her, murdered her. She was turning away. Her last words were, I get it. She was saying like she gets it. She understands. She gets it, dude. She's leaving. She was listening to the command from the ICE person who said to get the fuck out. She was getting the fuck out. The guy the car wasn't even in his direction. She was pulling the wheels away. And he shot her 3 times. And now he's in hiding. And this administration said that she was the cold-blooded killer, the woman who died, Renee Good, the woman who was murdered. She's the killer. She's the aggressor. Trump said that Renee was aggressively driving, killing the ICE guy, and he's in the hospital, and he was shocked that he was even alive. But in the video, you see him walking off when the car crashes, when she's dead. He's walking off. He's in protective custody right now. And let's talk about Minneapolis. There's so much racism in this country, whether it's against Muslims, Somalians, Black folks, Latinos. So much racism. All because of a group of men that were elected. I think we need to say that were elected into the White House. So what happened in Minneapolis, within the Somali community? This man, Nick Shirley, there was a YouTuber named Nick Shirley. He's like, I don't know, 20, really young. He announced that he uncovered daycare fraud in Minneapolis. Okay. And he went, and it just so happened to be Somali, because, there's a whole targeting against the Somali community in Minneapolis. Trump's racist as shit. It's the whole thing. He goes, films a daycare, trying to get in, seeing that it's closed. The sign of the daycare was also, misspelled. It was supposed to say Learning Center, but I think it like forgot the N or something like that. And this guy records it. So he's there outside of a daycare trying to open the door, seeing that it's locked. And, daycare in Minneapolis, they get funding. They get funding, state funding. And I think quite a few daycares get state funding. And so he says, because the daycare wasn't open and he wasn't able to inspect the daycare, that is fraud. Now, I think we also need to talk about that Minneapolis does actually have some daycare fraud. Yeah, it does. Actually, the ringleader of the daycare fraud is this woman. The leader of the leader of the Somali fraud is this woman. Yep. This woman, a white woman. So, the daycare fraud was actually started by a white woman who is in a lot of trouble. I believe her name is Amy Block. You should look her up. Look her up. Nobody talks about that part, right? They just talk about the Somali community as a whole. And let me explain something. There's fraud, waste, and abuse in all communities. Anybody that says that's not the case is absolutely lying. Let's talk about the Black community. Diddy. Hello? Let's talk about the white community. Epstein. And so naturally, people are going to get caught up in schemes, right? Because it's illegal and it feels good. You get money really quickly. In that moment, you're on a high. So I'm still waiting to see who, but I'm sure there were some people, Americans of Somali descent, involved in Homegirl's trust. What's it? Fraud ring. What is it? The childcare ring. I'm sure. But the issue I have here is that the Trump administration is making it a Somali thing because of this white 20-year-old YouTuber who knows nothing. And let me explain why I know he knows nothing. His whole thing, his whole spiel was going into a daycare after hours to show that nobody works there. Of course, nobody works after hours. And so what do I mean by that? CNN caught up with Nick Shirley. I suggest you go watch the video. And they ask him, well, when did you go to the daycare and start filming? He goes, well, I went at 11 a.m. Hold on. The daycare's open at 2. So you went and filmed a daycare at 11 a.m. Of course it's shut, you idiot. Of course it's closed. And then he said he went around like 1. And the lady at CNN said, the anchor goes, but you do know daycares are shut, right? Even when there's a daycare happening for safety reasons, so people like Nick Shirley can't just open doors and creep on children. So I want to talk about that. This man thought that it was okay for him to rock up to a daycare with children, thinks that he has the privilege to open the door, walk into this daycare where children are, and he's an absolute stranger. We don't know who he is. We don't know his background, and he's around children and filming them. That to me is creepy. And it seems borderline illegal. Now, keep in mind, the daycare wasn't open because he went off hours. So his whole story doesn't make sense. You're saying there's fraud, which maybe there is, but why aren't you investigating the proper, if you found fraud, why didn't you go to the FBI? Why aren't there any arrests from that daycare? And then, like, you can't even make it up. An hour later, there were daycare kids going into the school because it was 2:00. Duh. So this whole Somali fraud thing, do I think there's fraud in Minneapolis? Yeah. Do I think it's just the Somali people committing fraud? No. That is proven by who the ringleader was, which was a white woman. Where are the arrests? Right? If there's fraud, it's been going on for what? A couple weeks now, right? Allegedly. Where's the arrest? So that's another distraction. So we have Venezuela, we got Greenland, we got Cuba, we got daycare fraud in Minnesota with the Somali people, and now we have Epstein. Now, the Epstein thing, over the break, allegedly, supposedly, Pam Bondi found 5 million documents of the Epstein case. Now, your guess is better than mine. You let me know how she just all of a sudden came across 5.2 million documents. Now, people are saying that there's more. There could be up to 10 million documents. The issue here is Pam Bondi and the DOJ were supposed to release all the documents by, December 19th. They didn't do that because they said that they found millions of more documents. I believe at the time it was just 1 million. And then they dropped a few of the documents and implemented Trump. And we talked about it in my last podcast. Definitely listen to it, my last few. Well, then all of a sudden, a week or so ago, Pam Bondi comes out and says, oh, actually, we have 5.2 million documents. We are unable to release them until the end of January. Oh, and they had to hire 400 lawyers in addition to their 1,000+ workers allegedly already working in this factory in Virginia to redact Trump's name. But now they have 400 lawyers on the case. So much for a Democratic hoax, huh? So much for a Democratic hoax. Kash Patel's in trouble. Kash Patel, you're going to jail. Pam Bondi's going to jail. This Epstein thing is so disgusting. So that's the major update. We have not, I'm going to just say it straight. I'm starting to feel that this administration, that we won't see the files until the next administration. And I know some of you are like, well, duh. No, what I mean by that is like, I think we're probably going to get one more drop, one or two more big drops, and that's it. And I think for 3 years, we're going to be sitting and talking about it. We're going to be sitting and thinking about it. I'm actually, well, with the midterms, I wonder what will happen there. But at the end of the day, Pam Bondi controls the DOJ. So it really is up to her. And I think she's so cooked that I don't think she's going to do anything. So much to talk about. Well, wow, this has already been 45 minutes. I'm going to be posting a lot more now that I have internet. I hope that this looks okay because it's staticky, but if it is, so what? Just listen to the audio. It is what it is. But yeah, I just think we live in such scary times. I don't know what we're all going to do. I don't know. What are you guys going to do? Let me know. Actually, let me back up. Let me know your thoughts on what's happening now. Even if you're pro this administration, you're the ones who I really want to hear from. Why? What is it that makes you still want to support this person, this leader, this administration? Because I don't see a benefit even for you. Like, even for like a straight white MAGA male, what's the benefit? The only benefit is what the Democrats did for recently with the health. Thing is, 19 Republicans sided with the Democrats recently about healthcare with the ACA because health premiums were going up, and then Republicans have never had a healthcare plan. Name a policy and a plan. And let me explain something to you. I did strategy for my companies, and with strategy, you have to have a plan. And with a plan, it has steps. What is Trump's plan? I've never heard a plan. I've heard concepts of a plan because he said it, but I've never heard of a full plan. What's the plan? Not from Trump or a Republican. Think about it, you guys. When you're voting, and you listen, I'm not even just shitting on Republicans. Do nothing Democrats. Y'all know I can't stand them. I can't stand them. I can't. What's the plan? Mandami is a game changer, whether you like him or not. He had a plan and he executed that plan, which was childcare. He worked with the governor who isn't pro taxing the wealth, by the way, even though she's a Democrat, she's establishment. And in 8 days, he got childcare for New Yorkers, for 2-year-olds, and was it 5 and below or something like that? In 8 days. So what's the excuse for your local official, my local official? You know they love them some APAC. They ain't doing shit. 2026, we are all being smarter. Even if it's I'm an independent now, so like I do think there's a little bit more free range, I have to say, because I can't stand Democrats. But I'm left leaning, y'all know that, whatever. If you are a Republican listening to this, because you know I love y'all, it's the MAGAs I can't stand. When you're voting for your Republican person, if that's what if you decide to do, gotta ask the questions. I don't give a damn. Ask the questions, because we see it with Thomas Massey. You know, he's someone that I've always looked to. Don't agree with a lot of his shit, but a lot of it I actually lately have been. You've got to ask the questions. What's the plan? Detailed. Tell me how you're going to do this. Where are you moving money around? Mandami did it. He answered all of those questions and he still got shit on. But yet our elected officials can't ask one, and they're flying by on their coattails. They're just under the radar. So yeah, we've got to ask more questions. That's what we're doing for 2026. And I'm going to have fun with this podcast too. It's not going to be all about politics. I don't know how this podcast turned into a political podcast. Totally by accident. But I want to talk about sports and stuff. Like there's a lot, like the gambling, the tea, there's so much. And men are just athletes, the male athletes. Yeah, they're just so dramatic. It's so fun. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. Please like, subscribe. I'm an independent podcast trying to do my thing. I don't even know. But like, subscribe. Thank you so much for listening. Let me know. Like, not argue with me, but let me know what you think. Like, if I got something wrong, I'm here to correct the record. I want to correct it. I'll correct the record. Let me know your thoughts, what you think, what's going on in Venezuela, World War III, what's happening in Europe to my European listeners, if there are any. Like, are y'all okay? And just know that, like, the majority of Americans now, yeah, I get it. 77 million people voted for Trump. But the majority of Americans now, even the ones that didn't vote, trust me, I didn't vote for Trump. Let me just say that. I just want to first and foremost flex that. Yeah, okay, I'm going to flex it just for a sec. We will never vote for this again. I think people will never vote for this man. I think people won't even vote. Like, that's how bad it is. Next, we got to talk about the Electoral College. Let's try to get some of that conversation going, too. I've been thinking about that lately. All right. Thank you so much for listening. Bye.